in your book, you talk about your early life, back in Illinois. You told a story about a guy who pulled up next to you in a Porsche and what you thought about him. And
Mm-hmm.
that, I think we agree on that. Everything else we talk about goes back to mindset. And I didn't realize totally until it hit me. What is the contractor fight? And if you touch on that
Yeah.
story about the Porsche, that'd be cool too, because I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I think it was a Beamer.
Oh, okay.
It's same thing at that point.
Yeah.
I drove a piece of crap $400 car. It was covered in stain on a hot, humid day, going through a toll booth, and I look over, and he had like perfect hair. You know, he looked important. He had clean clothes on. And I'm like, what a dick. And
Yeah.
and so, because I was raised to think in some ways that if you made money, you had to screw somebody to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I was working for my uncle on his painting crew. I was just out of the Marine Corps. I was making like 12 or 14 bucks an hour. This was 1993, I think it was. Somewhere around there. And I just, we were always working in rich people's houses. And it's funny, until you start making money and understand what it takes to make money and who you have to become to make money, it's hard to respect people that have the money. You think they were handed it, or or they were lucky, or they were born that way. And I tell you, the more I'm in this game, the more I work on myself, the more I build relationships with other people that are really successful, the more respect I have for what they've had to go through and the crap they've had to own and who they've had to become. And, how many times you have to look in the mirror, really. And like one of our values is here's own your crap. We can touch on later, but the fight really exists. I named it the Contractor Fight because the fight's between our ears. It's how you think. It all starts there. I got a thing hanging on my wall over there that says what we think we become. I got this stuff all over. You get more of what you focus on. So I'm looking at the guy in traffic going, what a jerk. Rich people are idiots. I'm pushing myself away from wealth. Right? I'm making the case against myself to have a life that's, more financially successful or whatever success you're after. Think about your marriage, or, how many people are, they look at their spouse and they go, she's this, or he's that, or he's this, and that's the story they keep telling themselves. So every time you tell yourself that, your reticular activating system in your brain, your RAS, its job is to find evidence for what you tell it. So your spouse might, or employee or whatever, might do one thing that's annoying, right? But every time you tell yourself that, it just creates this pattern where all you could see is that one thing, and then it just grows and grows and grows until you think they're just a total idiot. When the reality is, you just needed to reframe your thinking. We all have people in our lives that annoy us, right? Or we all have a mindset towards something. It could be, Martin, nobody wants to work these days. There's so much work out there. Nobody wants to wake up in the morning and work in the trades. Well, if you tell yourself that over and over, your brain is wired. It's conditioned to find evidence for what you tell it is important. And so that's why in the fight, everything starts between the ears. We always say here, success is an inside out game, meaning, I guess if you want to call it our mission, it's strong you, strong home, fat wallet, in that order, right? Drop a rock in the water. Where it hits, that's you, your mind, your body, your soul, your rest. You got to take care of you. Your life and relationships and business are only going to be as strong as you are. And then the next ring out in the ripple is this strong home life, whatever that looks like for you. That's why the Queen and I, we go on a date every day of the year. Like, we don't go out every day of the year, but it could be a walk for 15 minutes. We find time to connect, and we call it date time every day, is one example. Forget this date once a week crap. I text all of our kids every day. So how's your home life? Because who you are and what's going on at home, you carry with you out into the workforce. You carry it with you into your sales calls, into your team meetings and all that energy. If you're not, and this is coming from somebody who's screwed this up, which is, I think, why I'm so passionate about this. And so, what good is it for you to build this kick-ass business empire if you burn it all to the ground at home and your health and your hobbies and, you're 50, 60, 100 pounds overweight. You don't do the stuff that you used to do. You haven't held hands with your wife in 8 years. This stuff's real. We hear these stories all the time.
What do you think it takes to trigger somebody to actually, I know you've had success stories where people's mindset switched. I know I've had some, but I know there's some who don't. Do people just have to finally realize it, or do they just need to hear it over and over and over? Or, why does that guy do it and that guy over there not do it? And that may not be an unanswerable question.
Well, let's flip it. Either one of you guys, when you've made a change in your life, what made it happen?
Disappointment. Disappointment's a huge one for me. Just looking at myself, judging myself hardcore, kind of like you talked about with your, your media work and just feeling like we suck at content. Oh, I'm so critical of myself, man. It can be the smallest thing. It can be how I look in the mirror sometimes. It can be looking at my mile time after a run. It can be looking at just the clients we have or the project we did, whatever. Oof. It's hard. Disappointment.
For me, I've been around a long time now, but probably about the age 50, I started realizing, and I don't know what triggered it, because if you gave me Stephen Covey's book, which somebody did way back when, I'd throw it on the ground. There's a bunch of touchy-feely crap.
Yep.
I'm a numbers guy, and all this, but I just realized that my self-talk was negative. And I'm way old enough that it shouldn't be now, but it still creeps in, and I have to catch myself. Now, what triggered me to finally realize that? I do have, disgusted. We use that word. We talk about it, that you reach a point where that's a negative thing, but it's it can be a positive force. I'm sick of this. I am sick of this. Something I talk with my clients about a lot, and I've heard echoes of the same thing with you is, I'm not going to do this anymore. I love the way you kind of, damn it, raise your prices. I say all the time, put your chin up and walk in there and do it. I don't care what you feel like. I don't like fake it till you make it. I like, Brian Tracy says, act as if, and it will come to be. Pick your chin up there and go in there and do it. And anyway, that's a little off the topic of how you get them to change, but that's the key.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody, right? There's a moment for everyone that it could be, it could be as simple as walking in the door after missing dinner again because you went on a bid that you didn't get. You were late for dinner and there's a cold plate on the table and you walked in and you promised you'd be home, right? And you're like, baby, I know I promised, but I know this deal's going to close. I'm going to go out and sell this thing because we need the money. And you walk in the door and it's the look of disappointment on her face when she sees you walk in the door. That could be the thing for you. It could be, you talk numbers, Martin. I'd say one of the biggest catalysts for people getting off their ass in our community is we just go, here's our job costing form. Run your last 5 jobs through this thing. See how you did. Sometimes it's just the black and white, unemotional math that tells you the truth is enough for you to go, I'm done with this. So I think it could be anything, but I believe it's rooted in it. At some point, you're just sick of things being the way they are.
Yeah.
And there's also people that are winning at a high level that work with you and work with us, right? And why do they come on board? I think because they know there's another gear and they're not, they're proud of what they've done. That's why I still get work with coaches and stuff. And I work on myself every day and read books and whatever it is. Cause I know that, man, look how far I've come. I'm not even close to where I think I can be and where I can be and where I believe God has created me to be. So let's get to work.